106-97. They snapped that four-game winning streak. Not losing streak. Snapped the four-game winning streak last night. Ty Lawson, Aaron Afalo had big games, 24 points, 23 points for the Nuggets. LeBron, some talk about him not feeling well last night. Ended up with 22 points. Cavs, this was one of those stat lines that you look at and go, when you're out there like this, you shouldn't lose to a team like Denver. You had four cats of 20 points apiece. Kyrie, Kevin Love, LeBron, Dion Waiters, but that was it. And when you do that and when you don't play cohesive basketball, doesn't matter who scores what, doesn't matter how many they score. When you don't play cohesive basketball, that's what ends up happening. In the second half, the Nuggets were the better team, and you saw that there again last night. I mean, look across outside of those guys. You get Sean Marion gives you 7. You get a 0 from Mike Miller in 4 minutes. He's still nowhere near what you hope to get out of him. You get a 0 from Anderson Varejao in his 18 minutes. He only took 2 shots. I mean, Varejao did nothing offensively the whole game, and really only contributed a few rebounds as well. And you get hardly anything in 24 minutes out of Joe Harris. And that's where the tough part is with everybody jumping. He's a 12-point game. Everybody's like, oh, Joe Harris should be a starter. I think he can get there, perhaps, as the season goes on. But there you saw last night, 24 minutes, 3 points. I mean, it's going to take him some time. And is his defense at that level where you want it to be there? But that's it. Yeah, you end up with the 4 guys with 20 points, but you end up losing the game, and that's how it rolls. So Cavaliers now, tell you what, talking about team play, and we'll talk way more about this later and tomorrow, but talking about team play, they're going to get a lesson in it tomorrow if they're not ready, because of course at the Q it'll be the Spurs and their first matchup with both the Cavs of this season and LeBron, both for this season and since of course they met in the NBA Finals when LeBron, before he decided to come on back home. We'll talk about that tomorrow. And then Thursday, Eddie Jansen from More Than a Fan Cleveland is going to be with us here, and we'll talk about the aftermath of that Spurs game, and we'll see as the Cavs get an example of what they hope to be as the Forever 5 against the Big 3, perhaps, the way you want to talk about it. I saw Steve Kerr talking after they played the Spurs the other day. He goes, brother, I've been retired for how long? They got them same guys that were playing when I was in the league, man. It's ridiculous. It's unfair. But it'll be a good example of what you want your team to hopefully be at the back end of this, because what it is right now is going to be what you're seeing. There's going to be nights where I'm just saying. I don't always get them right, as I like to say, but what did I say? There's going to be nights that they look like the greatest team that the NBA has ever constructed, and there's going to be nights that they look like they've never been on the same floor together. That's what you're going to get for a while. And that's what we saw just in the past 2 games. Just in the past couple games at home. That's what you saw. We'll talk more about this, as I said. And then tomorrow, looking forward to the Spurs game there. To me, first big test of the season. Real, let's get at it. And this is one of the teams that if you get where you're going, it's a guarantee that you'll be seeing them at that end of the season too. So we'll talk more about that. Cavs, you hear Michael in the background. Baby Michael. Yeah, that's right. You want to be starting something, you got to get the process moving, and it's going to take ups, it's going to take downs. Last night was a down there, and that's why you don't have a 5-game winning streak, which you should have had. A lot of guys went into the game probably feeling that way, and anytime you do, doesn't matter if it's Cavs, Browns, Indians, doesn't matter if it's the best team or the worst team. You walk into a game expecting to win, 9 times out of 10 you can lose. It's like the curse of the screen. We were talking about Crow the other day. 99 plays without a fumble in the red zone, bam. 2 seconds later, fumbles it. Bruce sent me a message earlier, or last night during the game, said 2 seconds after the announcers talk about Kyrie not turning the ball over, 2 turnovers. It's the curse of the as soon as you say it, the opposite happens. You guys know how that works. All right, let's take a break. When we come back, let's get this show rolling with Jeff Gorman from Indians101.com. We're going to talk about that monster, historic baseball contract signed by Giancarlo Stanton. Trade season underway. Are the Indians going to be a part of that? I'm sure they will, but let's talk to Jeff and see what he thinks about that. Doug Plagens, voice of the Lake Erie Monsters, joins us a little bit later on in first hour. Dr. Football Bill Chachkes, hour 2. We're talking about Ben Tate being cut, Adrian Peterson suspended, and more. We've just begun. Don't go anywhere. You're listening to the Sports Fix, baby.
The Sports Fix, the show that asks the question,
What you talking about, Lou? What you talking about, Lou? What you talking about? What you talking about? What you talking about, Lou? What you talking about? What you talking about, Lou? What you talking about? What you talking about, Lou?
We'll be right back.
Sports Fix listeners, you've heard me talking about it. Millionaires being made all season long at DraftKings.com, America's favorite one-week fantasy football site. I've been playing there too. It's now J-Rock's favorite one-week fantasy football site. What's one-week fantasy football? That means no season-long commitments. Play whenever you want. Have a player who's hurt? That's no problem at all because you change everything week to week. Injuries don't derail your chance at victory. It's a new season every week. You're never stuck with the same players. You can pick your team in just minutes and be on your way to winning huge cash. This season, one listener turned $10 into $5,000. Another turned $2 into $10,000. And a new millionaire has been crowned nearly every week this season at DraftKings.com. You could be next. Imagine winning $1 million in one day. $1 million just for playing fantasy football at DraftKings.com. Head to DraftKings.com now and use promo code Spreaker to play for free in the $10 million Fantasy Football World Championships. DraftKings.com. Bigger events, bigger winnings, bigger millionaires. Enter Spreaker now at DraftKings.com.
Sports Fix listeners, like us on Facebook today. Facebook.com/The Sports Fix. Football season is party season at Harry Buffalo North Olmsted. Everyone wins at Harry Buffalo. Every Saturday is Coors Light College Football Saturday with $6 pitchers, 4 bottles for $10, and the Buckeyes in full HD. Football season is most definitely party season, and your headquarters is Harry Buffalo North Olmsted all winter long. Harry Buffalo, join the herd. Have you gotten your copy of Cleveland's Finest yet? Highlighting the best moments, players, and media members in Cleveland sports history?
He won it! Elo hit a three-pointer on the sideline!
In-depth personal interviews with some of the top names in Cleveland sports fill the pages of this incredible book. Cleveland's Finest by Vince McKee is this year's must-have book for every Cleveland sports fan. Available now at Amazon.com. Get your copy today. Fantasy sports lovers, you put so much time, hard work, and effort into playing week to week that it quickly stops being a fantasy and starts getting real. And when the smoke clears, you want to show off those victories with a real prize. I mean, a really real prize. Nobody does that like Fantasy Jocks. The crew over at Fantasy Jocks have beautiful, high-quality, and heavy-duty championship belts, rings, trophies, and so much more for all your fantasy sports needs. There's literally only one place to go. FantasyJocks.com.
Hello, Cleveland. This is WWE Hall of Famer Mick Foley, and you are listening to the Sports Fix. Yeah.
Welcome back to the Sports Fix Live across the Sports Fix Radio Network. J-Rock back with you guys. And, of course, we are rolling on here. My man Jeff Gorman from Indians101.com getting ready to kick things off with us. We're going to talk some baseball here. Doug Plagens from the Lake Erie Monsters is just about 15, 20 minutes from now following him up, kicking off hour 2. We're back into the NFL with Dr. Football. He joins us, and we talk about, we got initials all over the place. We're talking Tate, AP, DEA, I'm telling JJ, you name it. What's the issue? We're going to talk about it all with Dr. Football in the second hour. UConn women fall. We got a lot to get into here. CSU wins their home opener. Right now, though, J-Rock back with you, going to the phones momentarily. Jeff Gorman from Indians101.com is on the hotline, which means you can't call in. You can be a part of the conversation on social media, Facebook and Twitter. Search for us, The Sports Fix on Facebook. Like the page while you're there, too. Nearly 21,000 fans on Facebook. Become one. And, of course, You can be part of some great conversations with some great sports fans, not just here, all over the world. Tweet with us at the Sports Fix CLE. I'm going to the hotline where Jeff Gorman's there from Indians101.com. Jeff, how you doing this afternoon?
I'm doing great, J-Rock. It's great to be part of such a loaded show. I was listening to the first part with headphones on, and according to my daughter, when I heard the news about Ben Tate, I said, and I quote, "What?"
You know what? Let's start there. Of course, we'll get into some baseball here in a second, but you also do some Browns with us, and you write for Browns101.com. What were your thoughts when you heard that? Obviously, besides that, news this morning of that. I mean, we've talked a bit. I mean, clearly, you know, the tea leaves were cast as far as the future. Are you really that surprised, though, that they went and did? I truly believe the reason it happened today is because of the situation of a team needing a starting caliber running back. And if we know for sure that we don't have any plans on playing this guy, go ahead, go for it. If you think you can get a job over there, go get one.
Well, I am very surprised. I'm surprised that they ended up cutting him. I can imagine making him like your number 3 back. If if something happens to West or Crowell, you're going to need somebody to carry the ball. Even if he really must have fallen very far in his estimation.
Well, not just that, though. He doesn't want to be there. What do you do if he doesn't want to be there? You can say that's great to keep him as your number 3, but if he's going to undermine what you're doing and be a poison in the locker room because he's not happy with his role, you got to get him out of there. And I think they knew that that's where it was going to go, so you have to move quickly. And I think that is proof positive that it's a different day within the people that run the Cleveland Browns. For anybody who questions, we talk about it all the time, same old, that to me shows proof positive that it's different, because there's many stories like that where things were lingering and festering and ruining locker rooms and young seasons and attitudes and all of that. And I think that's different, because these guys are like, no, plain and simple, this is team. This is 53. This is nothing to do with one. If you can't do it with the rest of us, then hit the bricks. And I like that. So from that aspect, I'm with it. And it doesn't hurt to take that stand when you got 2 guys that can handle the load,
Right. I mean, if he's not going to be able to be in a position where he can be a backup and can be a mentor to the younger players, then it is best, I guess, to get him out of here. It's just surprising that there's such a huge disconnect between what Ben Tate thinks of his own abilities and what the coach is doing. In his head, he thinks he's still a starting caliber running back. If I can't understand why he didn't get 25 carries against his old team.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Well, now that you see this, that was intentional. We know this is really going to make you seethe to sit over there on the sideline and get hot and angry watching everybody else play against your other team. And that's what you've had. I said it yesterday. He had circled. I know they did it on purpose to make a point to him there. He didn't do himself any favors complaining in the media while the team is technically in first place and all of that stuff. It just, you come across as me first. And then, for those of you guys that didn't hear too, in the locker room after the game, he was very, very disrespectful with the reporters that came over there. First thing he did was said, "What are you guys over here talking to me? What are you asking me for? I didn't play today. I didn't play one down. Get away from me." And so, he was definitely, and you can't have that. You've got a very young locker room. Those cats see a veteran who makes the $7 million contract that they hope to make one day. They're going to think that that's what you do. They're going to think that is okay. I remember that being an issue with Eric Mangini back in the day when he had some guys that were just poison in the locker room on those teams, if you remember. And even Jamal Lewis, there were guys, you had a bunch of young guys watching the guys that they look up to say, "Hey man, this guy's making you run laps. This guy's making you do all this stuff that you don't do in the NFL. Real coaches don't make you do this stuff." You can't have veterans in the locker room undermining what the coaching and the staff is doing. So from that aspect, got to go, man. And again, it doesn't hurt to have the young guys to go forward with it, because really it can, that kind of thing can fester. And next thing you know, if it's okay for Ben Tate to complain about his role, then it should be okay for Miles Austin, or it should be okay for, you know what I mean? And I'm not saying that in any way bad. Miles Austin isn't complaining about anything. He was the first name that popped in my head. But,
yeah.
so, hey, it's all done now.